Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Smith.
And I am Dan Davidson.
And we are here with a special and sadly unfortunate episode of Trek Geeks. Our first episode of the year, unfortunately, is a memorial episode. And Dan, we are, of course, speaking about the untimely passing of one of our favorite people in the Star Trek universe, René Auberjonois. We've been away for a while because we were on a break. We had a planned hiatus during the month of December for the holidays, spend time with our families, sort of recharge. And that's kind of why we haven't been in front of a microphone.
Right.
I texted you the news, and unfortunately, you were in. Well, I'll let you carry the story from there.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for dealing with our hiatus, and we're excited to be back for hopefully a great 2020. But like Bill said, it's starting off on a rather somber moment and a somber note. I was actually in Disney with my wife and my sister and brother-in-law when René unfortunately passed away, or the news of René's passing was made public. It's one of those moments that you just don't forget or will not forget. Very clearly remember I was at Hollywood Studios. Sue and I had been trying to find a certain item all week, and we were using the Disney app, and the Disney app said, oh, it's this place, and it wasn't there, and it said, oh, it's at this place, and it wasn't there. And the last place we were going to try is one of the main stores on the main boulevard of Hollywood Studios. So we had gone through the park, and we had done some stuff for the day, and we were leaving, and we stopped in the park, and I was actually talking to an employee at that store to see if they had this particular item. And I was showing her on the app with my phone. I had my phone up in my hand, and I was showing her on the app that it said, see, it says it's here right in the store. And as I was showing her that picture on my phone, I had a pop-up screen of Bill texting me all in capital letters that René had passed away. And I completely lost my entire train of thought. I had to apologize to the girl that I had to step away for a second because I started tearing up, and I had to walk away because I was in complete and utter disbelief.
I feel so terrible about that.
No.
Because I had, of course, had no idea where you were or what you were doing. I knew you were somewhere near Disney, but I knew that was the kind of thing you would want to know initially.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that when I heard the news, I immediately started to tear up.
Yep.
For those of you who may never have had the great good fortune to meet or to have met René Auberjonois, he probably was one of the most charming, delightful, and engaging people at Star Trek conventions. And I don't think that's overselling it. I mean, you think of people who would stand there and talk to you all day long, and out of kindness and out of a genuine curiosity about who you were as an individual. And that sums René up perfectly, I think, Dan.
I never got the chance, man. And I'm getting really emotional thinking about it because I did the same thing with Aaron. I have that wonderful poster that you got me a few years ago of a nice watercolor of Deep Space Nine, and I've been getting cast members to sign it over the last couple of years, and this past year at STLV, I was on my way walking up to Aaron's table, and he was on the phone. I didn't want to bother him, so I walked away, and I didn't get to have it. And I've always thought I'll be able to get Aaron's and René's anytime, so I didn't really make it a priority this year. And God damn it, people, make it a priority, please. When you're talking about these people that we love so much, and take that extra few seconds to tell them how much you appreciate them. And I don't mean just stars of Star Trek. I mean in everyday life, because you never know when something like this is going to happen, and it's always something I'm going to regret, never being able to thank him for being one of my all-time favorite characters in the Star Trek universe, and to thank him for all of the things that he did for me, and when I was going through my tough times. You know, everybody knows about O'Brien and stuff with me, but Odo was it for me on DS9. So that's something that's gonna stick with me for a real long time.
You know, that's really hard. You know, initially when we first talked about potentially doing an episode about this, I had asked if you wanted to sort of reconvene while you were on vacation. I was willing to pipe you in on the phone and record it. And at that point, you physically, mentally could not talk about it. And I think I was pretty much in the same boat. But I think that you were there probably even more so. And I'm suspecting now that it's probably tied to a lot of those a lot of those emotions that you were talking about just a second ago.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And when I was at that store in Disney, I apologized to the girl and I said, "I'm sorry, I just got some news that a star that I followed for a long time has passed away," and it kind of shocked me. I left the store with Sue and I had to go sit down on a bench for a few minutes. I had to stop. I couldn't believe what you had just sent me for a message. And I found myself later that night thinking about Leonard also. We both know exactly where we were when we heard about Leonard, and this is I don't want to trivialize anything, but this is Leonard-esque in the world of Star Trek for me, and it's really one that has hit home and affected me in a great way because of the importance that Deep Space Nine has had in my life.
Well, and this one hurts, because René really is the first series regular in the Next Generation era of sequels, which is what we'll refer to those shows as, to pass away. I mean, Aaron was a semi-regular. He was in a bunch of episodes, but he wasn't, in the opening credits and in the show every week. But René was. And René was already an established actor when he came on to Deep Space Nine. You figure the guy had been in the original version of the movie MASH, which inspired the television series. He was in Benson, as Clayton Endicott III, the lawyer to the governor. He'd done character work for years. So some memorable roles on Broadway in both Big River and City of Angels. Of course, the French chef in The Little Mermaid. And I go around singing that song all the time. The first I cut off your head, it don't hurt because you're dead. René was an actor's actor, in my opinion. In fact, he was probably one of my favorite actors of all time. Right up there with Leonard, for sure. But, there was a quality to René that made him seem like an everyman, no matter what he was doing, even as Odo. I think that was probably in the way he approached his roles. It probably was also about his generosity of character and of spirit and time. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's why this one affects us so much. I know it's why it affects me so much. I name another Star Trek actor who, pretty much donated his money for signing drawings that he'd do at a table to a charity like Doctors Without Borders.
Several buckets, yeah.
I mean, really no one else is doing that. Some people may have done some other charity stuff for signings now since René started doing that, but not to the level that René was.
And they were great drawings too.
They really were. Super. And they were simple, and they captured the spirit of what he was trying to do really easily. Plus, I mean, he took and posted photos of fans with their bucket drawings.
Right.
Yeah. One of the before you ever started going to Star Trek Las Vegas for Deep Space Nine 20, when I was out there, I got my photo taken with the cast members that were there. Right. Both Sid and Colm had to leave the day before that photo shoot, so they were the two who were not in the photo. But I got pretty much everybody else. Mm-hmm. And the first person to welcome me over was René.
Wow.
And he was on the far end of the group, in the back. René, I cannot say enough wonderful things about the man, because I truly did. I loved him. I really did. And this one broke my heart, man.
I loved watching the documentary, which he told some stories about while he was in that makeup, that godforsaken makeup, and the one that he peeled off, and I believe it's still in Rick Berman's house. Is that where it is? It's encased in plexiglass or something, and it's kind of creepy looking. But God, what I wouldn't want to have that thing in my house. Such a professional, such a great guy. I mean, he was doing stuff, as far as I know, right up until when he got very sick. Madam Secretary he was on recently. Yep. And I got to say, what makes me even weep more about this is we shouldn't know about things like this. These stars have their own lives and they have their private lives, but obviously this has been something that he had been dealing with for a while, because Dear Nana wrote an article about him after his passing and talked about the last time that she saw him, and that he had been suffering for a while with this, was it metastasized lung cancer, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And it just made me even more hit by it, knowing that he had this for a while and suffered, and it just hurts a lot. It's something that we as fans mourn and deal with the loss, but to read what Nana wrote was just on another level of oh my God, because these people were family for so many years and continued to be after DS9 wrapped up, and my heart goes out to each and every one of them. Of course, not to say his family and everything like that too, but it's just, this sucks. 2019 sucked. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say it bluntly. We lost a lot of great people tied to Star Trek during the year, and this one certainly was one of the biggest punches to the face.
I have to say that the Nana piece broke my heart, but what broke my heart just as much was about 260 characters from Annie Wershing. Annie was on 24. She played Renee Walker. She was in Bosch. She played Officer Brasher on Bosch. And her tweet, which I'm reading right now, my first ever TV job was an episode of Star Trek Enterprise where René Auberjonois played my father. I had come from theater and had never stepped foot on a soundstage before. He could not have been more warm and welcoming, and I learned so much from watching him, and there's broken heart emojis throughout it. That was her first TV gig.
Wow.
And she landed the great good fortune of working with René Auberjonois, who, by the way, is fantastic in that episode, even though it's a ripoff of Deep Space Nine's Shadowplay.
That's okay. Wasn't it great to see him on Star Trek besides Odo?
Yes.
It really was.
It was good to see him without all the prosthetics from hell, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's reactions like that from other actors that tell you that, Renee was special. There are plenty of people out there who act in TV shows who I'm sure have been doing this a long time, who probably didn't give a tenth of a care or an ounce of wherewithal to new actors coming on a soundstage for the first time. And a moment like that took somebody who now has been in a bunch of stuff and a bunch of very popular things. And it's the kind of thing that stuck with her entire career. And I think it's qualities like that about Renee that have stuck with me as a fan and as a watcher of Star Trek.
Right. Let's share with folks, dude. And I haven't told you about this ahead of time, but I want to do this. Let's share with our listeners the story that you love to joke with me about Renee in the podcast.
So back when we started Trek Geeks, there was a list of people we wanted to talk to. And Renee was very close to the top of the list. There was Andy Robinson, check. René Auberjonois, check. Nana Visitor, check. We got 2 out of those 3. I figured we were doing really good. But I always said, Dan, let's just keep trying. So we did, and Dan would intermittently try, and he would make contact with Renee's minions, as they were often called. Very, very delightful people who were super nice to us in every way possible. And Dan would invariably try every now and then. And we got the word one day that Renee was retiring from doing podcast interviews. And from the moment that happened, I turned it into Dan forced Renee into retirement. And that's what I've said for going on 3 years now. Close to 4.
You're such a jerk.
I know.
But yeah, it's become like the running gag, and it really is funny. They were the sweetest people. We'd go 6 months at a time without talking, and just that last time, she broke the news to me, and I was devastated. To talk to Odo. I mean, I had a whole intro written and everything like that for a year.
We still have the document. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yep. But that's okay. So yeah. So Bill likes to blame me for forcing Renee into retirement. Thanks, jerk.
Well, and come to find out, he probably retired because he was sick.
Yeah.
And we obviously nobody knew that at the time because it wasn't our business, and nor should it have been.
Exactly.
And I feel fortunate that I lived during a time where I got to enjoy the performances of René Auberjonois, because he truly was a fantastic actor. I mean, Anna Visitor has always said that he was her favorite actor, and I am right there with her. He's definitely one of mine for sure.
Do you have any favorite Odo episodes? Any ones in particular?
All too many to mention.
Yeah. No.
Well, here's the thing. Even in episodes that don't feature Odo, not, stories that are not Odo-centric, Odo has something that's just gold, and it's usually with Quark, but it's not always.
Right.
There's always a reaction, even if it's just a or something like that. There is always something that is just so fantastic for the moment that truly Odo is my favorite Deep Space Nine character, hands down. Always has been, always will be. And it's not because of his quest to find out who he is. It's because of the actor that portrayed him.
Absolutely. Well, you were talking about that, about just quick little things with him. We just talked about it very recently when we did our deep dive into The Wire.
Yeah.
And he wanted to question Garrick, and Bashir said, no, nobody overrules my orders as his doctor. You're not going in to talk to him. And Odo didn't like it, but he respected the doctor for doing it and just gave his little, and off he went. Perfect example of what the character of Odo was. And René, it's so funny when I do that impersonation, which I love to do. René didn't sound like that. It's so weird to listen to René talking when he's not Odo, because he doesn't have that gravel in his voice, and it's really it's another thing that's so great about his ability as an actor is to portray that character in a way that's not him. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. He's able to convey so much behind that massive prosthetic with a grunt. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that there are probably actors today who could do it, but I think that nobody could do it nearly as well. Yeah. I think that that's the expertise and the training and the ease of somebody who is such a master at his craft. I mentioned it when I've told you before about the Deep Space Nine 20 panel that occurred at STLV. I made the comment at one point that it was like watching a master class on acting, because these people were all talking about being actors, and they're all such high caliber actors. I mean, Avery Brooks was there, Jeff Combs was there, René was there, Nana, the whole nine. And René truly was a master at his craft.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm thinking about episodes as you're telling your stories, and I got to say, one of my coworkers is in a Deep Space Nine watch for the first time.
Yes,
right now.
yes.
So Jason is talking about it, and today we talked, and I said, so where are you at, and what do you think? And he brought up that he just finished Broken Link, which is one of my favorite Odo episodes. It's so powerful,
so good, and
it's such a great cliffhanger, and it's a great cliffhanger because of what happens to him, plus what he says to end the episode in regards to Galron. So a perfect example of a great Odo episode. I also think of The Begotten, another really, really great Odo episode. But I think you and I both agree that perhaps one of the best, if not the best, Odo episodes, and you said it before, Quark and Odo was what made those two were just brilliant on screen together, is The Ascent. That for me is the pinnacle of the Odo character and the Odo relationship with Quark, and another brilliantly done job by both René and Armin.
There's not a bad performance in Deep Space Nine by René Auberjonois, and that's not us just being fanboys. Right. That is thinking about it objectively and critically. There is not a bad performance the entire 7 seasons. I shudder to think of anything that he's terrible in. In fact, one of my favorite roles of his is actually the priest in The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Yes, which I've only just recently seen, like a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He is so good in that role. And you figure you got Jason Isaacs in there. The movie's almost 20 years old, people. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil it for you. When you stop to think that Captain Lorca kills Odo, it's a game changer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it didn't have to necessarily be the way that he talked, but think of the way he looked when he was Curzon. Just the way that he was, and actually, I'll preface that by saying, remember how, I'm sorry to say it, how goofy his makeup looked in the first episode? Because to me, it did.
It did.
It looked novice, and it progressed and got better over the years, and they attributed that to he was getting better at shapeshifting. So I liked how they had an answer to it. It was kind of like Data's aging program, which people tend to forget all the time. But I thought it was really great. But some of the ways, I mean, the way that he looked when he had spots and he was Curzon and he had that gruff, but also that flirtatiousness. There's not enough things that you can say good about René. But I do want to bring up one final point with you, man. And I have said many times on the show that I have been critical over the years of the relationship with Odo and Kira in the show and how it was portrayed and whether the show suffered for it and whether René or Nana even wanted to do it. And this may seem cheap and callous or whatever, but I mean it 100%. I have completely changed. I have a change of heart over that relationship, and it's because of René's passing. Relationships matter. Don't take for granted what you have. Enjoy it and live life to the fullest, because you never know when something like this is going to happen, and it's going to completely change your outlook on things, and it's going to change your life. So I have a newfound appreciation for the Kira and Odo relationship, and when the next time I go and watch those seasons of DS9 where that relationship is there, I'm going to smile and I'm going to be thankful that we got to watch René at his craft.
And at his best, hands down. Well, unfortunately, I've used this phrase all too often in the 5 years that we've been doing Trek Geeks, and I use it one more time, sadly. He was ours for a time, and now he belongs to the ages. René Auberjonois, gone but never forgotten. Special thanks to Mike Rittenhouse for his wonderful performance of the Deep Space Nine theme on acoustic guitar. We'll be back next week with a regularly scheduled episode. And until then, everybody, live long and prosper.
Coconut!